So yeah, this is, what is this? Cordata, I think. Yep, Tilia Cordata Glenlevin, Littleleaf Linden here. Obviously it's a linden, so you know it's going to have some problems, and it definitely needs to be trained. This tree's been in the ground about 2.5 years now, so it's right about the time you want to start really putting some work in to establish its structure. So first thing, we're going to set up to try and establish a central leader. As you can see from here, the tree kind of kicks that way, and then 3 or 4 competing leaders come up. So we're going to take care of that first. Then we're going to work our way down, start opening up space for the scaffolds, get rid of rubbing and crossing, any bad attached branches with included bark, which lindens are prone to have, and then we'll see what we look like. We'll get down to the base and start dealing with root collar excavation and all that kind of stuff. So we'll come back and see what it looks like after some work. Yeah, we're gonna sterilize our tools here before we get started. You know, just don't want to be spreading anything we don't have to. Basic hand sanitizer, nothing crazy. And we'll be right back with some actual pruning. All right, so we went ahead and we established a leader here. As you can see, Chris went up and, you know, took a lot out of that top, but this is a linden, so that's not going to be too much of a problem. This tree's going to take that with no issues. Let us know what you did up there, Chris.
In this area right in here, we have 4 leaders growing out of 4 stems competing for the dominance of this tree. So what I did was I selected this one as the main stem. I'm going to let this one take over as the central leader on the tree, and I remove these away. There's quite a few cuts to make out, branches coming out of this one area, but as we said, this is a linden tree, so we know that this species has a lot of branching that comes out, and it can take this type of pruning. Some would think this is kind of dramatic, but this tree will be just fine.
Yep, and we're going to end up probably having to subordinate those lower scaffolding branches too when we get down to it, but looks good so far.
Plenty of branches coming out all over, so we're not overly concerned about making these cuts.
All right, so we started to space out some of the scaffolding and establish a little bit more structure, so we subordinated some of these lower ones, and we're starting now to kind of take off where we had 3 coming out of here. We're starting to open this up a bit. We're going to be probably making a call on this one in a second. Same thing over here. We had a low one. These were kind of close together. It had actually 2 coming off here competing in here, so we just removed that completely, elevated a little bit. We're going to keep going through like that. Hopefully pretty soon we're going to be at a finished product, and we're going to talk about everything we did and then move on to the root collar. All right, so we're done now. Walk us through what we did here, Chris.
So, starting at the top, we established our central main leader. Removed off all the competing branches. Some were rubbing, crossing, some were going to be a problem in the future. When we're pruning this tree, we're thinking about it with the mindset that we're probably not going to be back for 3 to 5 years to do any more pruning on it. So it's important to kind of give it a once over with a fine-tooth comb. We removed one here. There was a cluster up in there that we removed to give that the main stem a chance to take over. Some of these smaller branches we removed. One issue that we're dealing with here is we have a whole bunch of branches coming out of this one area. There's not much we can do. We did take a large one out of here, which was the down the brass tacks. That was the bread and butter of what we did right in here. That's why it's kind of loose and open right in here, but we're pretty confident that something will come out of this area right in here and take over. In the meantime, we gave all these a good going over to make sure we don't have any rubbing branches, and so these all have plenty of room to grow out into their own space. Being in the urban environment, we got to take into consideration footpath over here and traffic on this side. So as the street grows, we're trying to train these branches to grow up and out and into space and not directly into the roadway. So that's about it. We did take quite a bit out of this tree, but it's a young tree and it should be able to take this right in stride.
So we're going to move on to the root collar now and come back and talk about that, see if we find any girdling roots or anything. Should be fun.
gonna snip off.
Oh yeah, that would probably turn into a girdling root at some
Would
point.
be a girdling root. And we'll clean up these root sprouts here.
Yeah, it's from the graft at the nursery.
So when we did our root collar excavation, we pulled away from the root flare here. And this did expose a couple of these small, these are adventitious roots that are starting to become girdling roots. You can see this is growing around the base of the tree. So when they're this small, absolutely I'm going to go ahead and remove these so that they don't grow into a problem later on. Some of these smaller roots, if they're growing out, I'll go ahead and reorient them to grow away from the main stem.
Yeah, we actually did that over here with these ones. You can see this is starting to grow around. If we had left this for a couple more years, this would have been a problem.
These cuts that we made down here were all just some root sprouts. They're probably there from when it came from the nursery. But we're just going to clean them up a little bit to make sure that there isn't going to be any problem with them.
Yeah, for some reason that happens a lot with the lindens where they do the root graft. You end up getting sprouting out of the bottom of it.
All right, this root collar looks pretty good. We can see the flares coming out in the base. It's a little bit deep, but it's not terrible. So now what I'll do is go ahead and bring a little bit of the mulch back in here just to top dress it. Keep it nice and clean. And I'll feather this out here so it's not so much of a mound where it'll collect water in here. And this should be fine.
Garden State Arboriculture.